Even though today's video is about surprises the first week after surgery, I wanted to just let you know there is hope. And it's amazing that only 3 weeks into recovery, I've progressed this far already. So there is hope. Keep a positive attitude, keep plugging away. Things will get better. I'm going for a walk today. I just came down this path you can see behind me. If you're nervous about your surgery, please watch this video. Many hippies have reported that watching it helps ease their fears. And I'd like to reiterate that message of hope from the beginning of the video, because right now I'm about 2 years post-op and I've got my life back. Everything has turned out great. When people ask me about my hip, I say, I don't even think about it. So I'm back to doing the things I love, playing beach volleyball doubles, and I'm actually planning a 2-week hiking trip to South America with my son. So I'm literally filming in the closet this morning because there's so much noise in the rest of the house. You guys tell me, should I come out of the closet?
Ha!
Today I wanted to update you on some things that really surprised me that first week after surgery. I hope this will help you be better prepared. I thought you might like to see where I've been for the last 3 weeks. This is also coincidentally probably going to be where I film most of this video. So first off, you can see my trusty companion and nurse, Mike. And you can see I pretty much just sit propped up here. I've got my laptop handy. You can also see I have over here what I call the invisible dog walker. One of the big surprises I had right after surgery was how useless my right leg was. My right leg is the leg where I had my hip replaced. And what I mean by that is I expected it to be, sore and have problems, but all of my fine motors, all my small muscles were useless. My abductors, my adductors, my hip flexors, they just wouldn't do anything. Even here in bed, I can move my left leg no problem, but to move my right leg, even sideways, the resistance of the bed sheets is too much. And so I would have to, lift it up or use that invisible dog walker, or I would have to kind of scooch it over like this very slowly and painfully, or sometimes I could like pull it up like this and then reposition it a little bit like that. And then I would eventually kind of like let it slide off the edge of the mattress like this. So that was something that really surprised me. I wanted to share some great resources if you haven't already checked them out. I've made it easy by including links in this video's description. My website, hipvlog.org, contains lots of helpful resources, including an email system that'll send you timely tips and information directly to your inbox throughout your hip journey. So I hope you'll take a minute now to invest in your recovery by subscribing to my YouTube channels, website, and Facebook group. And if you like my content, please share it with others and check out my other YouTube channel, Game of Life 411. So this is something that they gave me at the hospital. And so you can see, this is why I call it the invisible dog walker, because you can kind of hold it down there and it's like you're walking an invisible dog on a leash. But it's actually quite helpful because when you are trying to get in or out of bed, what you do is you hook that around your operative foot, which is pretty much a dead weight right after surgery. And then you can manipulate it up onto bed or off of bed, right? So I can just pull on this thing and lift it up onto bed and disturb poor Mikey here. So that's a great thing. Mike doesn't seem too bothered. So I really hated using this thing. It felt very uncomfortable, but honestly, I don't know what I would have done without it. So gotta say it's a good thing. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it now. Maybe I'll use it for Halloween or something. The first week after surgery, and especially the first few days, I couldn't even shake my shoe off. So if I had my tennis shoes on, which I have the laces set up pretty loosely so that I can just slide my foot in and out and they don't come off. When I would come back upstairs and want to take off my shoes, I could, pull off the heel with my other foot, right? Like this. And then normally you would need to kind of like, lift the shoe a little bit, kind of toss it off or something like that. I couldn't get my foot out of the shoe. I mean, it's totally loose, but I couldn't raise it up enough to just slide it out, which is only like a matter of a fraction of an inch. It was just so useless. It made it very difficult. So now you can see it's very easy. I just pull my foot out, slip my foot back in, pull my foot out. But those first few days, boy, I was just amazed at how useless those muscles were. Thankfully, they've been getting better every day. It can be difficult to get that shoe off, but you could try using your walking stick or maybe your long-handled shoe horn to push that shoe off your foot. If you're taking narcotics, these can often lead to constipation, and it is no joke. It made my first week after surgery extremely uncomfortable. So if you are taking opioids or narcotics, then please take all the stool softeners and do as much as you can to try and avoid constipation. And probably the easiest thing is to avoid opioids altogether, or at least try to minimize them and wean yourself off them as quickly as possible. The other thing that really surprised me those first few days after surgery was how much my operative leg swelled. It was just completely swollen like an overstuffed sausage or something. And it was so swollen that a lot of my normal pants I could not pull on. So I had to use very loose fitting sweatpants. And it was really bothering me. I mean, I could tell it was swollen all the way from the hip, at least down and through the knee. Below the knee, I'm not sure because I was wearing compression socks. That probably kept that kind of under control. But the rest of my right leg was just totally swollen, very uncomfortable. The good news is that I was reading and rereading the materials they gave me at the hospital, and at one point I read about, if your leg is still swollen, then you need to call us. This is not a good situation. You need to take care of it. And it actually gave some tips for how to deal with it, right? So they had talked about propping it up, and I hadn't really done a lot of that. I was lying flat a lot. I might have put a pillow up under it a little bit. I wasn't up on my feet a whole lot that first week, but still the swelling was not coming down. So before I called the doctor, I decided to give it, sort of one final college try, and I really propped it up. So I created like a whole ramp of pillows underneath my leg, and probably using like 4 pillows, maybe more, so that my foot was considerably higher, and then I had support in this ramp of pillows all the way down to almost my hip joint. And then I made sure that the rest of me was lying flat, because they tell you to make sure that your leg is higher than your heart. So I made sure that I wasn't propped up on a pillow or anything like that. I just laid flat on a single thin pillow and let my leg stay above me. And after about a full day of just resting and relaxing and in that position with those pillows propping it up, the swelling went down. Now, I didn't obviously lie there the entire day, but whenever I was lying down, I would say maybe 3/4 of the time, I had my leg propped up that significantly, and I was just lying back, not trying to sit up in bed or do anything else. I was just letting the swelling go down, and miraculously it did. So I'm so glad that I did that, because ever since I got the swelling down, it's been fine. I mean, obviously there is some swelling, but not the massive swelling that I had right after surgery and for the few days thereafter. The other thing that surprised me was the morning after surgery, I actually felt really good. I got up early, like 5 a.m., and I recorded some video, which turned into my day of surgery video. But then the second day after surgery, things caught up to me and it hit me like a brick. And I'm glad, again, that I had the notes from the doctor, because they explained it. They said that what happens is your body takes a couple days, but then it really ramps up and starts trying to heal all the damage that was done during the surgery. And you actually develop a fever. I was, I think, at one point up to about 102, but more, around the 101 range for a few days. And it felt like I was sick, like I had the flu or something. Definitely have been feeling lethargic and exhausted a lot of the time. So like sitting up right now, I've got a little bit of a fatiguey feeling in my head and not really loving that. I was exhausted and I just really didn't have any energy to do anything. So mostly I just laid in bed and I listened to some old podcasts I had, and I just let that time pass. And I'm glad I did. That seemed to last 3 or 4 days. So first day after surgery felt great, and then the next 3 or 4 days, not so great. Another thing that really surprised me was that I kept rereading those materials that they gave me at the hospital every day. And each time I read them, something new would pop out that would kind of stick out to me. And so I kept doing that because I don't know why it was. My wife later was talking to me and said, well, they told you that when you were in the hospital. I obviously didn't remember it. Maybe it was the anesthetic or whatever, but at any rate, I did not remember it. And they give you a lot of material. So I think it's also the case that as you're reading all those materials, you aren't necessarily absorbing everything. But for example, when the swelling was really bothering me and I reread the section about swelling, then it made an impression on me and I took action. So that surprised me, and I would definitely recommend that you read and reread the materials that you receive from your surgeon and from the hospital every day for at least the first week after surgery. I think you'll find lots of good things in there that'll help you. Another big surprise right after surgery was that my surgeon said no sitting for extended periods. And that really threw me for a loop. I thought, okay, I'm going to have this long convalescence, but at least I can sit in a chair and do something, like build a Lego project like I have been with my son every Christmas, or maybe I can play cards with friends or something like that. But no, he said don't sit in a chair, don't sit in a recliner. The only things I was allowed to do was stand, walk, and lie down on a flat surface like a bed or a couch. That was a huge restriction for me, and certainly I did not expect that. So it was a big surprise. Now I can tell you 3 weeks later that I'm still spending most of my time in bed. But I did have guys over for cards last night for about 2 hours. I didn't sit for the entire 2 hours. I get up every 20 minutes or so and just walk around a little bit. But it's much better and much easier to do some sitting now than it was a couple weeks ago. That said, they still don't want me sitting for long periods of time. When I had my first post-operative appointment 2 days ago, I asked about this. What happens is that if you're sitting for extended periods of time in a chair, that position is something that your hip is not going to really like. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the joint, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the incision, and if you sit that way for a couple hours and lose track of time, when you get up, everything is going to be angry and inflamed and stiff, and it'll probably feel that way for the rest of the day. So what he said is, if you need to sit for extended periods, just make sure you get up every 30 or 45 minutes, stretch, go for a short walk, and then you can sit down again. The best surprise I had the week after surgery was how fast I progressed. It was just absolutely amazing. I mean, the day of surgery, I was able to come home, climb upstairs, get into my own bed. It was just amazing. And then by the end of that first week, I was able to go down to a single crutch. It's just amazing the progress. Every day I could see that I was getting a little bit more control over my right leg and the small muscles there. So we really do live in a miraculous time with the modern medical technology we have. I hope you found today's video helpful. If you do, please subscribe to my channel and comment on one of my YouTube videos. That drives those YouTube algorithms so that these videos will be surfaced to more people and hopefully help them. Thanks and have a great day.
It's your world and I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt to
Explore all the free resources and helpful information throughout your hip journey by joining the Pete's Hip Vlog community and subscribing to my YouTube channel, Pete's Hip Vlog. If you like my content, I hope you'll also check out and subscribe to my primary channel, Game of Life 411, where my goal is to help you win at the game of life, whether that means finance, family, fitness, or something else. And remember, you're in charge of your own health.